Introducing All HR, a HR super app. Imagine you are Andy, and Andy got his job offer to work at All HR and is excited to start virtually. He's then given access to the All HR app, in which he can be onboarded virtually through the All HR onboarding module in order to get to know the company better and to know what to do on his first day of work. Besides that, he is also able to access the All HR checklist. That way, he can access to his respective information on what he needs to get started, as well as to make sure that he doesn't miss anything during his onboarding process. Not only that, being a new employee, Andy is clearly not familiarized with all of his fellow colleagues just yet, which is where the All HR directory comes in handy. With this module, it is able to allow him to look for any respective person that he wants with ease and hassle-free. But what about when it's time for Andy's vaccination and he needs to apply for a day off? With the All HR's leaves module, this allows configuration of different leaves types and approval routings so that he can take his vaccine leave seamlessly and instantly with a tap of a button. Furthermore, we all know that working isn't just about getting your respective tasks done. It's also a time where you meet new people and celebrate the festivities that comes with it. In this case, when Andy's birthday comes around, his colleagues are able to be notified through the team calendar and have the convenience of sending him a gift using the All HR store. Showing appreciation for your colleagues has never been easier. This is All HR, loved by employees and every HR admin's best friend. All HR is easy to use and is used by businesses of all sizes given its flexibility. Need assistance? Fret not, as it comes with all the support that you need to get started. The first form of support is through our All HR Academy videos. With All HR Academy, you're able to access in-depth walkthrough videos of each of our modules in order to guide you on how to use it. And the best part, it's all recorded, which means you can replay and pause at any time you want and as many times as you want, so that you're able to follow through with ease. As for the All HR's knowledge base, learn all about each and every module as well as their differences to enable you to have a smooth experience when your company uses All HR. Besides that, we also have the All HR Masterclass to enable you with direct communication with our team during a 45 minutes call in which we will briefly go through a few modules and answer your burning questions at the same time. Last but not least, introducing the People's Platform to enable you with direct communication with an account representative during the onboarding process for your company. With this, we make sure that your company is being onboarded and guided through a seamless process in order to help kickstart your journey with us. So what are you waiting for? Sign up now and reap the benefits of what our HR Super App has to offer.
Hello, good morning to everyone, and selamat berpuasa to all our Muslim friends here. My name is Ken, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. Right, so a quick introduction about myself. I lead the business development and customer success teams at Odisha. Together with my team members, we help companies from small startups all the way to large enterprises to implement Odisha across their companies. On a daily basis, I'm speaking to different companies with various challenges for their businesses. And to be honest, it has been interesting to see how Malaysian companies are adopting and adapting the HR digitalisation journey. Yeah. So for today's webinar, it will be our very first ever two-part series. So for today, it will be part 1 on personal taxations. And as for part 2, we will be having a tax guide for SMEs and also entrepreneurs. So if you're interested, make sure you mark your calendar. It will be happening next month, 18th of May, same time, 11 a.m. Right. So next up, it will be a few call to actions for every one of us here so that I can make this session as interactive as possible. Right. So the first one, throughout the webinar, if you have any questions for us, please drop the questions in the comments and don't be shy, don't malu. All right. So I think some of you probably still shy, still need to warm up. So I'll just start with one quick survey, easy one for everyone here, right? On a rating of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in terms of your readiness? How comfortable are you and your know-how to submit your personal taxations? One being you're totally clueless, you don't even know what's taxations. And 10 will be you are already so familiarized with all the possible tax reliefs that you can utilize and be smart in your tax plannings. Disclaimer here, I mentioned smart. I didn't ask you to outsmart your tax submissions. Okay, and then next up, if you haven't already, please make sure you're checking through the links in the descriptions or in the comments so that we can send you informational brochure about Orisha and what we are all about. Okay, and moreover, if you're interested, you can actually share this link to your HR team. Maybe you think it's time for your company to change their HR systems. Or you can even book a session with us to find out more about Orisha. Yeah. Last but not least, for today, we are hosting a giveaway where towards the end of today's webinar, we will pick a few winners. So I'll share more details later. Make sure you stay tuned until the end. All right. So now that we are done with all the formalities, let me officially introduce you to our guest speaker today, Mr. Lau Chin An. So Mr. Lau is the director at Genesis Origo, or in short, GO, right? So it's an e-learning platform, and one of the programs they offer is a world-renowned, the largest professional accountancy body, the ACCA qualifications. And the fun fact here is I'm actually a student of Mr. Lau. And in fact, I actually see the list of participants that we have. I noticed quite a number of you guys are from finance, from accounting. So I won't be surprised if you're a student of Mr. Lau as well. So besides e-learning, so GO, they also provides outsourced accounting services and corporate trainings for companies out there. So in case you or maybe your employer is interested to find out about the trainings, it could also be getting your finance, your accounting team up, with all the standards or the new changes to accounting standards. You can actually refer to Genesis Origo. So to find out more, please visit their website at www.genesisorigo.com. All right, now that's enough from me. Let's hear it straight from our speaker himself. Over to you, Mr. Lau, for quick introductions.
Hi, hello, hi, good morning. Berpuasa to our Muslim friends. Yeah, thanks for that very, very welcoming introduction. Yes, our Genesis Origo actually is an e-learning platform, and we actually offer a number of programs, not just CCA. For the low-level entry, we offer LCCI. We even have programs like RRSM to do with Royal Institute of Surveyor Malaysia, estate agency qualifications that can help people if they want to come out into the property markets. So all these, yes. And our focus is actually on employability, affordability, flexibility. When we think about you want to study, then go to work, study and work, then you study, break, then you work, you come back and study. That's the kind of things that we are having in mind, which is the less conventional way that when you just go into an academic institutions. Since I have the opportunity, we actually also offer some kind of scholarships or aids to, especially to those with the B40 group. Of course, we do interview with our applicants and see whether they really know what they want to do and are they able to sustain through the whole program. So we believe a lot that is the way to change life, and the education will help them to lift up the dignity of their life when they are able to come out into the society. So that's a bit about us lah. So if you want to know more, you can go to our website. Thank you for this chance to introduce GO.
Thanks, Mr. Lau. And I think you guys are doing a great job, great initiative there to help those students. And I totally agree with you. I think education can change a lot of things in our life. All right. So now move back to our agenda. I would say that with your expertise in the related industry and knowing the best practices for personal taxations, I'm sure our audience are all excited and they will definitely have some great takeaways today. In fact, from the comments, I saw some of them are, in terms of the rating, some say 7, some probably lower. So I think, this could be a good session for us to really find out more, or it could be a very good refresher as well on our knowledge. So we have prepared a few questions for Mr. Lau, but prior to that, I would just love to engage everyone here again with the toughest questions for the day. So all participants, have you submitted your personal tax filing? Yeah. Let me know by sharing your answer in the comment section with a simple yes or no. So pandemic has been here for more than 2 years. And things have changed, but one thing remains is that your responsibility to submit tax. Okay, so a gentle reminder: the official deadline for personal tax submission is 30th April. So that means we are about 2 weeks now. And if you are going through the online submissions, you have a grace period up to the 15th of May. Yeah. So let me see if I haven't seen any yes or no, but I guess if anyone haven't submit, don't worry. You're not alone. You know why? Because we are all Malaysians. We just have to leave things until the end. Okay. Now, without further ado, let's hit straight to our main event with my very first question for Mr. Lau. So Mr. Lau, share with us what made you start a company like Genesis Origo, and how do you think this can be a platform to help people to achieve ACCA qualifications or some of the qualifications that you mentioned earlier in a less traditional way?
It's really about how the pandemic has shifted the way we do things. You know, a lot of things that we have been trying to do in the past were all very difficult and not possible, but pandemic has basically made a lot of things possible. You know, a lot of uncle aunties that they never want to use e-wallet, you can see everywhere they're using e-wallet in the pasar. They buy things with their touch and go. They learn how to transfer money. So things are changing and there's nothing we can do to undo it. You know, we really have to go with the flow, and we are embracing a new future with a new way of doing things. And since we are able to ride on the advantage of learning through the virtual world, we thought that that's the way to go. And in the past, we have got people like maybe they are from Sabah, Sarawak, and they don't really have access to a lot of choices, but now they are able to reach us. So we thought that that's a nice thing. So it's just a very nutshell to share with you about how we get started and why we get started.
Interesting. I'm sure online learning has been hard for the younger children. I have two myself. I think for those adults going through qualifications like ACC, I think should be okay. And I love the fact that it's opening up a lot of opportunities where we are not now limited by the boundaries that we have all this while, right? Okay, then I'll move to my next questions, Mr. Long. Based on your experience, what are some of the main income tax claims that most, especially the fresh graduates, they might miss out or they probably overlook on this?
Okay, so now we're getting serious to the point. Okay,
Yep.
maybe now since our webinar is more like a chit chat session, we don't have a slides to show you. So guys, you better take a pen or pencil and start writing down. I guess you've been not doing that for a very long time, right? Okay, I think we got to look at from two perspectives when you highlight about what the graduates tend to overlook. One is when they are looking at the tax return form, especially you're not from a tax background. There's a lot of questions that tends to fright you. You know, you have nightmares. I've got calls from friends all the time during these sessions that they will say, hey, what is this? What is that? So what do I do? And why the thing cannot click? You cannot go to the next page in the e-submission. So I think I will just highlight a few things for the audience on the screen. But particularly, I will just label it for you so that it might be easier for you to take note. When you're looking at B5, all right, well, very specific, like what is B5, okay? You must do your homework, go to the form, then you know what's B5, okay? There's something called investment under angel investors tax incentive. There's just so many people asking me like, what is that, right? And because they see it's a less there, and everybody is so excited about less, don't need to pay so much tax, ma. So they are like, can I get it? Can I get it? Now I got to be a bit more specific, like, this is actually if you are an angel investor. So if you want to know what is an angel investor, now I just tell you what you can do. Do a quick Google. You just type MBAN, which stands for the Malaysia Business Angel Network, that you need to be a high net worth individual to join their membership. So this is actually meant for rich people, that they become a membership, then they go and invest, then they get approved into that, then they get an incentive. Basically what they invest, they get a deduction. So it's partially government helping to get the rich people to connect to those businesses that need investors to get the funds. It's actually a good thing, but a lot of people are wondering what is that. Now, the next thing I find a lot of people actually ask a lot is when they see this item called D9, where they mention about disposal of asset under the Real Property Gains Tax Act. Now, because they use the word disposal of asset under RPGT Act, you got to ask, have you sold any property in the last 1 year, in 2021? If the answer is no, then basically it's just a no. And finally, one more thing is that because it's a new donation, and I know that people have been wondering what is that. It says something like, it's a gift of money in the form of wakaf to religious authority / religious body. So I have Christian friends that you know, we Christians give donations to the church as well. So they say, hey, I can claim that, right? Because they see the religious body. So they thought that, okay, now this is actually something more specific. So here the religious body is actually referring to the Majlis Agama Islam Negeri. So it's actually meant for people who gave donation through that channel. You know, wakaf is actually donations. They have a lot of wakaf, like they have wakaf tafis, which is for them to build schools and so on. Now, that could be things that as you fill in the form, you're wondering what is that. Okay, now come back to your main question. What are the main claims that they might overlook? Okay, maybe I would just highlight this part about computer, because this year, and even when I refer to this year's submission, last year's spending 2021, they have this additional relief for buying computer, smartphone and tablet, and this is an additional 2,500 ringgit on top of what we used to have in 2005, which is what we call lifestyle relief, like buying books, sports equipment. Now the question is, if I bought one computer for 5,000 ringgit, do I get to claim 2,005 and another 2,005, or do I need to buy two computers separately? Now the answer is you can combine them. So if you have bought actually one computer, 5,000, congratulations, you get 2,500 and 2,500. All right, so just go ahead and claim it. All right, it's already clarified. It's even in the example in the panduan penerangan that was given by the Inland Revenue. And another thing that people tends to overlook is they claim the wrong relief lah. Now, of course, when you claim the wrong relief, if the Inland Revenue asks you to provide documents, if they found out, then you know that they will come back to you and say, oh, you got to pay back the taxes with penalty. Now, example like broadband. I got a family, I got a big family, I got 4 children with me. So you can imagine how many phone lines that we're using at home, right? Each of them needs a phone, needs an internet. Now, if you claim a broadband, for example, you got to make sure that the line is registered under your name. Now, I know a lot of family, they are very, you know, Malaysia word is chincai. The line, maybe when the wife go to Digi, they will register the line with Digi and then register for the child. But the husband go and claim. Now, you know, you can't do that because the line belongs to the wife. Then rightfully the wife claim, not the husband. But most people, they mix it up. Now, these are the things I think you got to watch out lah. Okay. Now, if you're not sure, the best thing is you always ask questions. Always check lah. Okay.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Law. I guess it's quite a heavy questions to begin our morning.
Very heavy.
Plenty to digest, but I think one key takeaway from me is that means I should now head to Apple Store and buy an iPhone and choose the top of the range. Try to hit the max 5K. Yeah. So I think to also add on to that, I think there are a lot of resources, and Google is always our best friend there. I think a lot of pages like Ringgit Plus, Compare Hero, they always do this like a summary for you, the typical or more common tax reliefs that you can actually utilize on. So yeah, head straight to Google to find out that. So to follow up with my next questions, I think in a way, probably we don't really learn taxation even during our secondary school or in our educations, unless you're in the accounting field. So to Mr. Lau, then what are the key reason why people must take income tax so seriously?
Okay, I think that's a very, very important question. Every time I joke with people about income tax, it's something that when you start to do it, you do it until you die. And even after death, somebody got to do it for you. So that's why we have things like estates under administrations. a lot of people, I mean, death is not a nice thing, but a lot of people will say like, you know, even after I die also, I still got to get people to bother about taxes. And the answer is yes. You know, you got to get people to inform the income tax that this person has passed away. You have to settle the final things with the Inland Revenue. But you know, income tax is really very powerful. All right, they can make your life in a mess lah. You know, you don't want to mess up your income tax so that they will bring you nightmares every night, like you cannot sleep. I've got friends that they're so worried each time when they go and collect letter. They are so scared to see a letter that has the LHDN logo, and then they were like, what is inside? You know, it's like you open up, it's like you don't know it's a death penalty for you. So that's because you've been doing not the right stuff, and then you are worried about that. The government can have a lot of power. They can bar you from leaving the country if you don't pay taxes. So can you imagine that one day you're in the airport, and then suddenly you didn't check your status, and then you realize that you can't leave the country? Now they can do that. They can send you to jail. All right. People are like, you mean for income tax? Now, of course, they don't always do that, lah. But I'm just saying that they have the power to send you to jail. They have power to fine you every time you do wrong. You know, and the fine is going to be very scary. They can go up to very high amount of fine. And each time when we share to people that that's how much they can go, they're like, so bad. I mean, again, doesn't mean government will do that, but that is what that they're capable. I mean, I'm just going to throw something so bombastic to get your life nervous about taxes. You know, we even have something called monitoring deliberate tax defaulter program. You're like, what is that? MDTD. Now, basically, it's a program that because you keep, you know, you're not a very good taxpayer, you don't follow the rules, they just want to keep an eye on you, like monitor you. And every time you're wrong, they'll charge you penalty 100%. So can you imagine when you have 5,000 taxes, they got to add another 5,000 because of the penalty? It's scary, right? So that is one side about why we need to take tax seriously. But actually, I thought that the other side we should look at it is look at the moral obligation of paying taxes also lah. Because at the end of the day, you know, we're in a capitalism market world that we need to balance off the society. So government needs some kind of revenue to discharge their responsibility. So where would the source of funds be? So I think that it's good that we have progressive tax system. That means those who are able to make more, they share more, and then they can give back to society. Now, how they give back, all that we don't discuss, but the idea is the system is there, like, you know, that should be some moral obligation. So please take tax seriously so that you can sleep well and you don't get worried.
Right. Yeah, I think from the positive way to look at it is that you are making good progress in your earnings, and hence you are contributing tax and then heading to the higher tax brackets. I think that's one. And what Mr. Lau shared earlier about that friend worried to go collect later. I'm not that friend, but I kind of been through that for years now. I'm kind of fortunate to be picked by a tax audit since 2016, almost every year. And in case you wonder, do I buy a lot of bungalows, a lot of Ferraris? The answer is no. So I think we have to also move away from the ignorant mindset that, you know, we are all fresh grads. I don't learn about tax, I don't know about accounting, so I can choose not to look at taxations. The answer is no. Yeah. So everyone stand an equal chance to get picked for the tax audit. And probably like what Mr. Lau mentioned, maybe my first year they found something that I was trying to outsmart. I don't know that, and hence I've been picked in that special list that every year now I'm being revisited. Yeah. So guys, so think do your part, and you really can't go to the pagawai and say, I don't know, I tak tahu, that's why I buat salah. All those things doesn't work. Google, you just have to make initiative to find those. All right, then I'll just move on to the next question. So I think that also relates with what we just talked about, right? So I think how does one know that if I'm supposed to file my tax returns when, let's say, my company doesn't deduct the MTD, monthly tax deductions, or probably I didn't fulfill that criteria. So what should I do as a tax resident, right, to find out that?
Okay, now, I think the first questions to talk about taxes is you got to first make enough to even qualify to start the journey of paying taxes. And actually, it's a nice thing because it's a step to show that you're grown up, right? You know, that's something that can differentiate your life when you're still a boy or girl and now you're like an adult, right? It's like, oh yeah, I start to know what is taxation. Now, maybe to give a general guide, if you don't have any other income except just an employment income, your salary is around 3,006 a month to 3,007. All right, that's what I've just calculated. That should be the level that you got to start to be careful. So if you are like, oh, I'm 3,000 only a month, you're definitely off the tax radar. All right. So you don't have to do anything. If you've never done anything in your life before, you've never registered a tax account, you don't actually need to do anything. But if you have come to the level like 3,006, you are close to the border, because even if 3,007 a month, technically speaking, you might have taxes to pay. But if I have spent a bit more that can qualify for tax relief, you might still end up with no tax. But that's the level that you're going in. So around 3.6 to 3.7. Now, actually, one way if you want to really look at it is, if let's say your boss is giving your tax installment, it could be a very small amount. Okay, when it comes to tax installment, again, you got to be very careful because a lot of people didn't know that if you're using software, like I think Alt HR has systems that provides the EPCB that is already accredited, approved by Inland Revenue. They have their way of formula to calculate. The installment could be very minimal one because it's like very zun one, okay? Very accurate. That's what I mean. Now, and if you're using other systems like the website, they may end up with a huge or larger tax amount, you know. So end up, even that may not be accurate, but at least if the boss is deducting taxes from your salary, you may not need to do anything and you're not violating the law, because there is an option that the government is giving called monthly tax deduction as a final tax. That means as long as you don't do anything and you don't have any other income, you're employed with the same boss throughout the year, that's it. Your responsibility is fulfilled. Now, having said that, it's not a good thing really, because sometimes the tax that your boss deducted, which is an estimate, is much higher than what you need to pay. So actually filing return is a good thing, because you might end up getting a refund from the government. So do that. Now, check whether your income is at that level. If you are not below 3,006, you're quite safe. You probably don't need to do anything. If your boss has already deducted tax from your income, then what you need to do is it's better for you to file a tax return. You might get tax refund. Okay, so that's my advice about your question.
All right, thank you. So I think those who are, just a recap, those who are in the border or the thing gray, I think, yeah, like Mr. mentions, most payroll engine, usually we are more conservative because we are all set and governed by our HTN. So normally your deductions, your installments are usually higher because these are all before all the other potential release that you can utilize on. And some saying were also saying that it's actually good to declare your income so that when you need to acquire some assets, you have proof to show that these are all legitimate incomes that I've made over the years. All right. Then I will move on to one interesting question as well, where now we have moved on and still in pandemic. Now with all the COVID-19 pandemic, is there any relief special income tax claims that we can take advantage of?
Okay, if you're talking about specific to COVID-19, I can relate to your test kits. We buy a lot of test kit, and that is something that we can claim up to 1,000 ringgit. So just remember, when you order a test kit from Lazada, we're so excited to receive our parcel. Sometimes we just cut open and take the thing and poof and chuck away all the bag, right? Your receipt could be inside, and please keep it. Because I realize, I mean, as a online shopper myself, sometimes I realize that the system does not allow us to print invoice from the system. So you better keep whatever receipts that comes to you. Okay, so that's one test kit. The other one I think is actually the investment in devices because since pandemic has started, we realized that a lot more devices are needed at home. I myself experienced when we deal with our students, like they have to share devices, and then sometimes they don't really have a proper device to study, and a lot of them think that it's a digital world. My handphone can do everything, but think about studying with an handphone. The words are so small. how are you going to make a concentrations with that piece of thing in front of you, sitting in front of your dining table, eating your wonton mee like that? I don't think that's the right attitude lah. So we need to have some parameters that even when you talk about online study, how you should do it. So people might start to look at investing in devices. So the good news is you still can buy one more additional relief in 2022. That means they give it another 2,500. I mean, just take a simple calculation. A small family, for example, they probably would have paid for broadband. And then besides broadband, if let's say they incur expenses on maybe buying books, if they have children, you can't stop buying books because you need to go to school. So the books, the broadband might easily have already hit your 2,500. So this is the other 2,500 that you can utilize, which is actually for your device. So if you're planning to look at the device, you know, plan nicely. Don't wait. You know, the problem with a lot of people is they wait until 1 year later, then only they look back. Then they say, if I know, then I would have. If you know, then too late. That's why we always say tax planning. You plan first. You don't wait until later only you do it. So now ask yourself, what is the best time to plan for it? Now, if let's say example, that there is a 11/11 promotion coming up, and it's towards the end of the year, you can afford to buy a device, you know, why not? Because this could give you an additional saving. I mean, imagine if your tax rate is around 13% or 21%, that could save a few hundred. Okay, so that's a computer device. Now, the other one that I think is pandemic related is holiday. I don't know about you guys over there, but I am deprived of a family holiday that, you know, we go out to really, even in a beach, cuti Malaysia lah, okay, at a beach together and play and have fun under the hot sun and shout, you know, we miss all that, all right? So I foresee 2022 is a good time for us that some may start to want to come out already since we are looking at endemic phase. So you might want to start booking hotel, right? Hotel, or of course, you know, accountants like us, we really know how to calculate all the way to the dollar and cent. So we want to measure like, oh, this A&B cheaper, you know, you can staff 50 people in a room and share out the cost, that kind of nonsense. But my sharing here is look at the hotel bookings, which you can get up to 1,000 ringgit of relief. While Airbnb, you may not be able to get that if they are just a conventional house because they are not registered with the tourism authority. Now, so then there's a point. Like example, if I book hotel and it costs me, let's say 1,000, but if my tax rate is 21%, I could get a relief of 1,000. I save 210, you know. So effectively, my hotel is 790. If your Airbnb is around the same, so it's up to you to decide whether you want to enjoy that kind of ambience of a hotel. You know, you go to a hotel, it's very different than you go to Airbnb, right? So but at the end of the day, you can do a calculation. So that could be something that is COVID-19, I would say. Okay. Now, so these are the things that maybe is more I think that's all for individual, that's especially employment group. If you're a businessman, you got more, then that will be the next session. So you see, I do promote. Okay, next session, come back again. All right, you might want to start a business. Okay, back to you, Ken.
So now I have a lot of doubt if Mr. Lau is actually a lecturer or even a salesperson, yeah. But I think on the three items that he mentioned, I think tax kits. Hopefully, you guys don't need to spend a lot on that. I hope not. But I think on the devices, about the treaty to Malaysia, so those I think it involves a lot of tax planning. I myself, I have a Excel file. Actually, list down what are the reliefs that I can potentially utilize, and I think that also creates a good reasons to probably convince my lady boss and say, hey, let's spend this and let's spend that. All right, then I'll move on to the next one, which also we talk about investment, right, Mr. Lau? So during the pandemic, a lot of people see this as a good, you know, like once in a lifetime opportunity to invest. So in regards to investments, anything that they have to take notes when it comes to taxations? And if so, and what are those scenarios?
Okay, maybe I address the hype because I think a lot of young people are looking into things like cryptos, NFTs, forex, and a lot of time people are asking questions like, so do I have to pay tax if I make money from this kind of so-called investment? Okay, now the concept of investment from layman and the concept of investment from tax is very different. To layman, everything is investment as long as you are not using your time to get involved to actively earn the money is called investment. But from tax to invest, we have more criteria to fulfill. So if let's say you're talking about, oh, I buying cryptocurrencies, and then I make money out of crypto. And you've been going in and out, in and out. You've been buying and selling. You know, Bitcoins is like going up and out like roller coaster. I hear some people make money, some lose money. But from tax point of view, if you do make money, then the Inland Revenue will actually look into the purpose of why you're doing that, how you're doing that. So there's a lot of things that in technical terms we call that as badges of trade. All right. So then they will use that to decide whether or not it will be taxable or not taxable. All right. And you know, it might come to a point that it is taxable. But at the end of the day, it's still the quantum lah. You know, if you're telling me that I'm making millions out of it, just like questions like YouTuber, people are asking like, does YouTuber needs to pay tax because at the end of the day, the money come from US? Now, please don't conclude that just because the money come from overseas, you don't have to pay tax. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so but there's a lot of technical details behind that. I think that you probably need a lot more time to chit chat, so I think I can't share with that. But at least I want to let you know is the answer is maybe you have to be careful on how you do it, especially some of the criteria you look at is how frequent you're doing it. You know, you go in and out, and what can you do with investing with it? For example, if you say that I'm really buying Bitcoin as a form of payment mechanism, I'm using the Bitcoin, then it's a different story. But if you say I'm buying Bitcoin because I want to keep, because I know it's going up, it will sell and make profit. Your intention is to make profit. You're just like doing a business already. And if business needs to pay tax, why don't you need to pay tax? You know, it's the same concept, right? Yeah, so that's a bit an investment now.
Right, interesting. So I think a lot more things people are now talking about crypto, NFT. So I think again we just need to make efforts to find out more like what Mr. Lau mentions. And I think the nature matters a lot, right? How you are buying those things, why are you buying those things as well? All right, I think thanks for that. Before we move on with the rest of the questions, if you're a company who's in need to find an efficient way to provide your employees with all the EA forms, pay slips. So Auditor is just the thing for you, like Mr. Lau mentioned earlier. We do have the payroll engine to calculate, but we also have a feature to distribute all these documents individually to all your employees. I think if you went through that last month as a HR team, as an employee chasing your HR team to get all the pay slips, your EA forms, then you look straight here to that. What we have, Auditor, we have a documents module. The HR can push all these documents to you directly. Yeah. So and in case you wonder, AuditShell is a Digi super app for all the companies, and with more than 20 modules ranging from your e-database, your e-leaves, e-claims, all the way to even your attendance data. So these are things that we have and many more. So if you think it's about time to change the HR systems for your company, because you guys are still printing the manual EA forms and payslips, or probably you think that you need to digitalize the HR operations, reach out to our team. Yeah, you can find the links, the information in the comments as well. Okay, then I think we are done with some of the questions I have from Mr. Lau. I think now we can probably open up to the floor to address some of the questions we can. Yeah. All right, then we have a first question. So thank you, Melissa Ong. So how much is the penalty for wrongly submitted income taxes? So Mr. Lau, you mentioned about how serious is this, but what are now the complications of it?
Okay, to answer this question, it can be quite tricky. Like, it depends on whether you are caught for under declaring your income or you're not caught for under declaring the income. Now, a simple way of doing it, if let's say you discovered that you've made a mistake. For example, let's say in the 2021 submission now that you're doing, you submitted everything and you click submit, you tanda tangan already, you know, you key in your IC and your password, you submitted. Then only you realize that, oh gosh, I got this income that I forgot to declare. Now, you have a way of doing it, which is what we call as an amended return. All right, amended return. So they allow you basically 6 months from the due date to do it. So you can't really like drag too long. So within this year, you have to get it done. Now, that means you have to pay an additional 10%. But it's still very merciful, you know, 10%. So some people, I mean, if you're really accountants, you're so calculative about interest, right? Then you do it a few months later, lor. So at least you save. But I mean, how much can you save with a few months of that small amount, right? But if let's say you want to rectify, you can use this thing called amended return. Okay, if not, then there's already no other avenue except what we call a voluntary disclosure before a tax audit. That means you have to go and inform the government, like, oh, I've got this income that has missed out, and now I want to like inform the government. And then you ask them to do an assessment of it. Now, of course, yes, you will still have penalty to pay. And penalty will range like between 20% to 35%, but it's still so much lower. Lah. So at least you have an avenue to correct your situation. So I think that's the questions for Melissa.
Right. That sounds very painful. So that's 25 to 30% is on top of what you are supposed to pay, right, for the tax amount.
Yes. That's right.
Right, guys. So try not to be too smart sometimes. Just follow the rules, follow the book as well. Let's see if we have a next question. So we have from Fatima Fauzana Rahim. Do we need to declare investment income, especially things like dividend income distributed from companies in Malaysia?
Okay, if you are talking about investing in companies, the answer is no, because the taxation system is such that the dividends that companies pay, resident company in Malaysia, are called single tier, which okay, if you look at the concept, is the company already paid tax. So whatever you receive from the dividend, you don't actually have to pay tax. Now, as an individual, right, I would say that the kind of investment incomes that you need to take note is mainly rental. So if you are actually collecting rental, then this is one thing that you have to take note. All right. You know, okay, I give you an example. Some people like to ask me, how would the government know I collect rental? Now, you sign rental agreement, you have to do a stamping, right? Isn't that a way of how government already know that you have a rental source, right? Okay. Now, rental is the main one. Now, interest, generally, most Malaysian, their source of interest is from bank. They put money with the bank and then they get interest. Now, all that is also exempted. So you don't actually need to pay tax on that. So you don't have to declare. So the main one that you have to declare is actually rental. That's the main investment source. Now, if you are investing overseas, you know, I got friends who buy shares in Facebook lah, Alphabet lah, and then they say, oh, I got good income and so on. Now, again, all that would be a foreign source income, so you don't actually need to declare. So I hope that answers questions for Fatima.
Right, and I actually have a follow-up questions. I think a lot of people wonder, speaking of rental income, right, Mr. Lau, am I allowed to deduct my installment amounts before I declare the net income from rental?
No, you're not allowed to deduct your installment amount, but you're allowed to deduct your loan interest. So I mean, to be honest, if you are generally a group of investors that you invest with a mortgage property, you take a loan and invest, because of the rental yield, especially during pandemic, it has been terrible. A lot of places, you know, people are moving back to out from the urban area. We got a lot of vacancies out there. So as a result of that, if you are a new investors, because new means your loan is still new, your property value is still based on the recent one, you probably would have made either break even or probably even loss, especially if the location is not good, right? Now, then in your rental income, you don't actually need to worry, because the rental income is not even enough to cover, the example, your loan interest, your quick rent and assessment, your fire insurance, and then if this is those that has management corporations to take care of the property, you have to pay the maintenance fee. So if you add up all that, if you already make loss, right, that there's nothing to declare, because we are not declaring the rental, we are declaring the profit from the rental. But the installment don't have, because the installment you're buying the house, but the interest, yes. So that's why you got to really go through your bank statement to pick up how much is the interest, and then you tabulate it. You know, do it in Excel and then keep the record. It will be very helpful.
Right, right, interesting. So I think property altogether is a very big topic. Definitely, we don't have the luxury of time to cover. I think we speak about rental, we speak about how do you claim the net amount, and RPGT or real property gain tax is then another big topic to talk about. So I think if you guys are interested, probably can drop a comment and see if you can catch Mr. Lau the next round on that topic itself. And I just have to move on to the next questions. See, okay, so we have from Iza Atira. If I had multiple jobs in a year, this is one of the popular questions. Am I required to get EA forms from all my employers, my previous jobs?
Okay, now interesting. First, the responsibility to give you the EA form is on the employer and not on the employee. Okay. Now, I don't think employer will be very happy when I say that. Okay. So if your employer does not give you EA form, actually they are in the wrong. The Inland Revenue can actually penalize them for breaking an offense or violating an offense. So they have an obligation to give you the EA form. So they have to do it. All right. Technically, you don't even need to ask. But of course, we also need to be practical. Like in a lot of small businesses, especially when they don't have proper system, they don't know how to do all that. So a lot of times that's why is employee go and say, boss, I need an EA form. Then they start to say, okay, how do I get you EA form? The whole idea of EA form is for you to have a record of how much is your income. So you can take the amount and put it inside your BE. So there's a total amount that they will show in the EA form. Again, I can't flash the screen, so you just got to take note there's a total. Now, below the total, there's another amount that shows all the exempted allowances. That one you don't have to pay tax, so please don't include that, okay? So the total amount will be given in the EA form so that it's easier for you to fill in, all right? Now, let's say you have 3 different jobs. And even let's say a very insignificant part-time job that you only take 300 ringgit salary a month. You say, wow, it's so insignificant. And I know some people are so tempted. Aya, kecil je lah, tak payah lah. You know, that kind of mindset, right? How would the government know it's so small? Just ignore it lah. You know, it's like, let me ask the questions. Like if you give a loan to your friend, let's say I take a loan from you. All right, Ken, I want a loan from you. And I'm going to borrow 5,000 from you. And true enough that I'm paying you interest, let's say at the end of the year, I give you a brother loan. I give him back 100 ringgit interest. He's going to ask, do I declare the 100 ringgit? A lot of people say like, it's so small, So most of the time we'll just say we won't declare. But if you're asking me, the right thing to do is you have to declare, all right? Now, but back to questions of Iza, the number of jobs that you have will all be reported by the employer. So they have another mechanism called Borang E. So that's where the employer will list down all the employees that they have. Even big job, small job, 100 ringgit salary, they will still report you. So now if you notice in the BE form, right, there is a column under your employment income, what we call pengajian. They will ask this question, your number of employment. How many bosses that you're working with? So if you fill in that, the government will be able to check. It's a computerized world. Okay, it's very easy. So that's why for Iza's question, yes, if let's say you have multiple jobs, you should get all the EA. If your boss didn't give you, get it from them. And then when you declare your income, remember to fill in the number of employment properly.
Yep, I think not just the number of employments. I personally been through that where I think it's good you try to do some sanity checking to add up all your pay slips, your amounts, and see whether that ties up. And partly because I think a lot of companies in Malaysia, they are still using a manual way to create pay slips and EA forms as well. So I think you guys should try to reconcile and don't assume whatever you see on the portal is actually correct. And I think one thing you can do as well, if your company is doing all these things manually, get them to speak to Orisha. We can digitalize all this. All right. Probably, I think, given the time, probably we can only take the last questions from Annie Lim Wei Yen. Hi, if I receive voluntary EPF contributions of 4,000 ringgit for employers, that means the company, then full tax relief EPF 4,000 allowable?
Now, I don't quite understand the question, but I'm trying to make sense of it. I think it's a very nice boss that is trying to give Annie an additional 4,000 contribution from the boss side, right? Now, the answer is no, because the relief that you claim is your amount, not from your boss, okay? Now, again, example, right? Sometimes companies, they also give insurance for the staff. let's say I buy a life insurance, I give it to my staff, so they get a benefit of a life insurance. Now the company is paying the life insurance for the staff. Now the staff might be wondering, hey, it's my life insurance, can I also claim my relief for life insurance? The answer is no, because at the end of the day, you didn't pay for it. Anything that you want to claim relief must pass a simple test. Do you pay? If you pay, then at least you can consider. If you don't even incur, the answer is no. You're not allowed to do that.
All right. Okay, I think that's about the time. So sorry if we can't take some of your questions. Like I mentioned, personal taxation is a big topic. It's indeed a fun journey because you start to see, hey, I'm paying this amount of tax and what am I utilizing all the relief? So like I mentioned, Google, you can find a lot of resources. So yeah, please do the initiative to find out more. And I think that's all the time for today's webinar. Before we wrap up, as promised, we have a giveaway event here. So for the first 3 people who share this webinar link on your Facebook or LinkedIn, of course, if you want to do both, I won't stop you. So what you only do is actually 2 steps. Step 1, copy and paste this link, post on your Facebook or LinkedIn. After that, remember to tag AltHR, ALTHR. So once done, you just come back to this comment section and just reply if done, and also put in your email address. That is also the first 3 people, you will receive an email from us regarding Grab vouchers within the next week itself. Okay, so last but not least, I just want to convey our deepest appreciation to Mr. Lau for taking your time, joining us, and I'm not sharing all your, cool, I think very practical tips as well for us. So I also thank you everyone for joining. So if you're interested, make sure you register for the part 2, which is next month on SME, tax, and also entrepreneurship. All right, so that's all for today. Okay, and stay safe, everyone. See you around. Bye.
Ken, hello, Ken.